Have you ever read the book Committee of 300?
No.
Have you heard of it? Like, do you know anything about it or no?
No.
The whole concept of the book of a Committee of 300 is, if you want to, let me just read the basic plot of what this is about. So the background of it. Is this the one, Rob? Yeah, this is the one. Known as the Olympians. So people claim
I'm not a great conspiracy theorist.
Let me just read this to you. Claims that a powerful group of people founded by British aristocracy in 1727, proponents of the theory aligning with the committee existence, believed to be international council that organizes politics, commerce, banking, media, military for centralized global efforts. The theory dates to a statement made by a German politician, Walter, in 1909, where it says 300 men, all of whom know one another, guide the economic destinies of the continent and seek their successes from their own milieu.
I'm not a great conspiracy theorist, and let me tell you why I think that is nonsense. I mean, I know a lot of the people who run Britain, and they are singularly incompetent. They can't even control the country's borders. The idea that they're capable of global conspiracy is absurd. But they can't even run a bath.
But do you know what is the word used in this book that kind of does make sense? Forget about what this, whether it's accurate or not. God knows how many books I've read myself that, I mean, there used to be a time if you were even seen carrying Atlas Shrugged, you were the most selfish human being in the world if you read Ayn Rand, because God forbid you read Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. You're a horrible human being, right? But the one thing it talks about in the book, it talks about watering down your national identity so you can change your culture. The key to changing culture is to water down the national identity. Are you seeing the current strategy of what's happening to UK? Many countries in EU, as well as what's starting to happen to America with the amount of migrants we've had the last 4 years, where there is an idea of trying to water down the culture of the West?
Yeah, I don't think you need to look for a conspiracy to explain this. The reason for it is fairly straightforward, but it requires understanding the concept of postmodernism. All ruling elites in every society have had a belief system, and you need to have a belief system to establish authority and legitimacy. The belief system that America was founded on was the belief system based on natural rights, John Locke. What's happened in the West is that we've moved away from traditional belief systems based on Judeo-Christian values and natural rights to what you might call the postmodern belief system. Postmodernism is an ideology that maintains that everything is basically a power struggle, and that everything that happens should be seen as a power struggle between different sectional interests. And they've taken the old Marxist concept of the world being divided by class into a world divided by race and gender and all the rest of it. And this postmodern ideology maintains that all cultures are of equal worth and that people are interchangeable. It's postmodernism and the growth of postmodern ideology amongst the American and European intelligentsia that explains this contempt for the nation state and this, lack of respect for American culture and American values. But I think what's interesting about America is that ordinary Americans still buy into the American idea, which is why on a Friday night, when you go to Friday Night Lights in Mississippi or where I come from or across America, people still stand for the national anthem. They still believe in America. The elites don't, but ordinary people do. So I don't think you need to look for a conspiracy to explain why our elite political system is detached from the values of the population. They spent too much time at elite, but actually rather bad universities, learning a whole bunch of garbage from French postmodern ideologues. And that is the root cause of this. It's not a conspiracy.
Yeah, I can see how watering down and starting with kids who go to school to gaslight and confuse the hell out of them, to have a certain level of hate.
To demoralize.
And, I remember I had a guy on the podcast. He wasn't too happy with me. What was his name, Rob? The former Jefferson grandson or something like that, who was on the podcast, and he was not happy with his great-grandfather. I'll never forget when we did this interview. I'm like, what do you think about Thomas Jefferson? Rob, that's the one right there. If you can just pull up that, Lucian Truscott is right on the podcast. And he was just not happy about his great-great-grandfather. Rob, can you go to the interview on how it ends? It's very entertaining how it ends. He forgot to turn off the camera, and I think the audience will get some fun with this one here. It's right there. If you notice the spike, let it play. Yeah, let it play. And it's got to go to the end when, keep letting it play and see if...
Place it. Why not just put it elsewhere and recognize...
Well, I told you. I answered that question.
There you go. So I answered your question as well.
Go a little bit...
I got to tell you.
Watch this.
Yeah.
Go back a little bit, Rob. This is a lot of fun.
One of my favorite interviews of all time.
Yeah.
I wish you nothing but the best.
Okay.
He gave me a love letter at the end.
Take care of yourself.
Watch this compliment at the end.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Watch this.
What a fucking asshole.
You know what this is? This is all the notes I prepared.
So, you know what his story is? Rob, can you pull up his name? Pull up his name on YouTube, on Google, and then go to news. Go to news. Okay, zoom in. So type in his name and then type in Jefferson. Type in Jefferson. And I'm a direct descendant of Thomas Jefferson. Take down his memorial. Okay?
The vanity of it. The vanity of thinking that you in 2024 have a greater wisdom than someone who actually created your country in the first place. Extraordinary. I mean, bad history tells you more about the prejudices of people talking about it today than what happened in the past. This is just bad history.
Yeah, it's disappointing as well. Like for you to have the audacity to think your life is harder than what Jefferson had to do back in the days when they escaped and they fought what they fought. Who are you to think your life is harder than this guy?
It's extraordinary. I mean, I feel so strongly about this. When I moved to America with my daughter, I was alarmed that she was picking up this sort of nonsense from, TikTok and social media, that she would get the wrong idea about America, that she would listen to people who said, the only significant thing about the founding fathers is they owned slaves and that America was a republic founded by slave owners built on stolen land. I was so terrified that she would get this idea, this wrong idea of America, that I made a point of telling her what I regard as sort of the 6 key things that every American should know about their country. And on long car journeys, I used to tell her stories about it. And I ended up actually writing a children's book about it because I thought that I wanted to show her what her new country was like. I wanted her to understand, for example, that America was founded on a radical idea, the idea that all people are created equal, and that this is an exceptional idea. You've had lots of countries founded by defeating other armies, and America certainly did that. It beat the Brits, beat us lot. But America is more than just about Bunker Hill and Saratoga. It was about this idea, a revolutionary idea. I wanted her to know that America's got the best system of government in the world. And it didn't just come about by accident. It came about because the Americans borrowed from the Roman tradition and merged it with the English tradition. This is why, incidentally, they've got a Senate and a Capitol on the banks of the Potomac.
You're talking about Cicero.
Yeah, they borrowed the ideas from the Romans. I mean, extraordinary. I wanted to know that America's been a force for good in the world. I don't want her growing up believing all this nonsense on social media that America's always the bad guy. It's really important that Americans understand this because otherwise you get morons telling you that you should be ashamed of America and America's founding. And it's the complete opposite. The whole point about America and the Civil War and defeating slavery is that America fought a war to eliminate slavery. America fought a war to eliminate a practice that had existed from time immemorial. America shouldn't be ashamed of America's past. Hi, everyone. I'm Douglas Carswell. You can join me on Minect, where you can ask me any question you want. Why I believe in American exceptionalism. What made me leave Brexit Britain and come to Mississippi, the greatest state, I think, in America. You can ask me any question you want, and I'll answer it directly. Look forward to hearing from you.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.